Alright, let's be doing a troubleshooting on this Evo. Customer states that sometime when you turn the key, sometime it'll work, but sometime when you turn it back off, it won't work or it won't get no power. So we're going to be checking that. And sometimes the radio, if you turn it up, I believe, a little bit louder, the power shuts off. So we're definitely going to be checking that. And then the headlights would be dim. So let's go ahead and start kind of taking it apart and assessing the situation. And let's go from there. Alright, I'm just doing my initial checking. I did find this. The battery is really located on the back, so this is kind of odd. Looked like they just took the terminal, kind of bundle them up together. I kind of never will do that. I would always put a fuse or distribution block to be safe. I've noticed it looks like they added quite a bit of ground. Notice they didn't even scrape the surface, so it's not really making a full ground contact. There's one right there, and then another one down here. It's still kind of sitting on the painted surface. Another one down there. So there's quite a bit of ground going to everywhere, but it's not mating at the actual metal surface since the paint is still intact. The battery ground, it looks like it's going all the way to the back for power. So that's another thing. Could have kind of upgraded to just a 0 gauge and put the 0 gauge at the back. Don't need to run it all the way here. But yeah, we're definitely going to be checking this out. This should have been fused and distributed properly to protect it from catching on fire. So that's definitely a no good situation, but that will be addressed. But for now, we'll go inside and check it out and see what the condition of the ignition switch. So we're here inside. We're going to be checking the ignition cylinder just to kind of see if that thing is making full 12-volt contact at all times. So it looks like it's already kind of been coming off, so makes it a little bit easier, but not really. So I'll go ahead and take this off and then check it out. Hopefully it replicates the issue, that way I can check for voltage and things like that. So let's get to it. So get this bottom cover off. It'll have a screw down here, and then one here, and then one here. And once you get that, just kind of wiggle it around. And all it's held is just little clips right here. Some are kind of bent. Maybe that's why it wasn't sitting properly. So I'm going to address that afterwards. But yeah, as soon as you get that out, it'll just kind of pop off. Let's see if I can get this popped off. I'll go ahead and move it around and get that released. It looks like we're going to be taking this off too. I kind of found some fishy things going on underneath there, so I want to kind of get a better view of it. I saw a lot of butt connectors going everywhere, so that's definitely something to look over. Let's go ahead, and it looks like one here and then one there, and this should just pop off by clips, so it's pretty easy. Make sure you don't drop all that money. But yeah, right here, and I don't see any screw. Maybe, yeah, it looks like underneath inside there's gonna be another Phillips. So but yeah, you got one there, one down there. Alright everyone, we'll be checking what's going on down here. This is the ground that's going to the front. Generally, sometimes I just kind of check like if it's loose. That could be a problem. Oh yeah, this definitely needs to be addressed. Yeah, that should not come off, so I'm going to take it off and kind of put it more forward in. And we'll start with that and see what it does. So I went ahead and took it off and just kind of push it in so it's not pulling out. So we'll start off with that and just kind of see where we are, and then we'll continue looking at other things, and hopefully it replicates the issue that it's having. That way we can properly diagnose it. So upon checking everything, obviously I'm checking the key just to make sure the ignition switch or the key is not messed up. It looked like it replicated the issue, so as you can see, nothing. So far that's the issue that it's having. So I'm kind of assuming that the ignition switch might be bad, but I'll check the voltage and stuff first before I make that assessment. But The ignition switch is right here, and it's kind of loose, so I don't think it's supposed to be moving that much, but we'll start with that and check some voltage and go from there. So upon inspecting this ignition switch, I was kind of just cycling it on and off when it was replicating the issue, and then all of a sudden I kind of saw a small puff of smoke right here. So I'm not sure what's going on with the switch, but I think this shit's bad. So since it's loose like that, it's probably making not a full contact, and that's probably what's causing it to not start or die off. So I did check for power and stuff, and it did lose ignition signal. It'll be that black white, so just put a voltmeter there, and when you turn into the on position, it'll light up. In this case, it didn't light up a few times when I was cycling it, and then it also didn't crank over the starter. So I checked the starter, which is black and yellow. That only gets power when you turn the key to start. It also had an intermittent problem on that, so I'm almost assuming that the switch itself is bad. So I'm gonna go ahead and take it off and then replace it and then go from there. So I did confirm that it is the ignition switch. I kind of wiggled it around. I already took the screw off, but I put the screw back on and I was cycling the key, and whenever it presented the issue, I just kind of wiggle it around and it'll catch again. So I would highly suggest replacing these, as that's kind of what I'm leaning on a lot on, because this pretty much powers the whole car and everything in between. So if this thing stops making contact, then it will cut the power off. So I would suggest replacing that. They're pretty cheap. It's only held by this one screw, Phillips, and once you get that out, it literally just pops off, and then you push this clip in and then literally releases. And I would start with that. This one looks pretty worn anyway, so I would suggest replacing these, and then we'll go from there. So while I wait for the customer's reply about the ignition switch, I'm gonna go ahead and take the radio off just to kind of see what's going on underneath. To get that off, you have to unhook the cables for the controls. It'll be on this side. If you look kind of just like right behind this, you'll have the cables itself showing. It's what controls the heat and the cold. I'll show you what that looks like once I get in there and then kind of start. Alright, these are the two cables that I was talking about. This one plugs into the bottom, and the blue plugs into the top right here. All you do is kind of press this inward, and then this thing would release. This one you have to kind of separate the two ears. Basically put a flat head on top and in here, and kind of make them spread out. That way this thing would pop off. Once you get that out, you'll be able to pull the climate control bezel so you can access the radio behind and see what's going on in there. But you don't have to do these. This is just the customer stating that the radio is cutting on and off. So I'm gonna check how the radio is even wired, but judging from what's going on here, might as well look at it and then see what we'll find. Careful of taking it off. This thing's already broke, so I'm gonna try to put a zip tie there to kind of secure it, but that controls, you can see when I turn it, that controls the hot and cold, so that definitely needs to get situated. Oh, the cable's bent too, so oh, that's why it wasn't going through. It's bent. So now that it's straight, it's actually picking everything up, so that's good. So moving on. So I went ahead and put a Duralast ignition switch. I'm gonna figure out a way to kind of wedge something in there, because I don't like that whole movement that it does right there. I don't know if you can see that. So I might be able to put a zip tie to kind of go from here all the way around, just to kind of keep it from flexing, because I kind of felt it when I was putting the key. It wants to twist this way, so I don't know if that makes any difference, but I've never seen a car that we had to have that kind of much movement for it to stay still. But I'll figure something out. But so far it's been starting fine. Hasn't had any issues, so we'll put that on, kind of check it, and then go from there. I was able to insert a small piece of metal and place it underneath, so it doesn't have that much play, because it's kind of helping it absorb all that movement, so I would leave it like that, but I'll still put a zip tie in there just to kind of hold it all together again. So this is more of an update. Got another key made. The original key was all bent up and things like that, so went ahead and got a new one made. As far as the radio, customer stated that the radio turns off when you put it on loud. Well, I've noticed the back speakers are so blown, so that can cause it at times to backfeed to the radio and put it on protection mode and turn back on. So that's always a possibility. But just turning it up so loud, you can just tell the back ones are so blown. So I would kind of recommend to get that thing replaced or just unplug it for now. See where it goes. But I will be relocating these because that's a pretty lazy way of putting it ground. So, but yeah, that's my diagnosis so far. So far it's been starting fine. I've cranked it so many times already. So here's kind of what I did to the ignition switch. Like I said, I put the metal in between this and the casing, so it helped a lot. And then I just kind of put a zip tie around it, go into the harness. You can see it's not moving nowhere, so I prefer it that way. Nobody's really going to see that, but it'll only help. It's not going to make anything worse. So I'm going to go ahead and close the radio up. The only thing I did notice was this burn mark right here on the mute wire. So it's been touching something, just don't know what, but I'm going to tape it up. This wire also was just kind of hanging in there with no tape, so I'm going to tape all that up and put everything back together. But yeah, overall my assumption would be just the speakers were just so blown that it's backfeeding in and putting the radio in protection mode. So I'll recommend that and then go from there. So upon just kind of looking around, I kind of saw all that. I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but yeah, that's quite a bit of butt connecting going on in there. So I don't know what's going on, but yeah, that's definitely a suspect with possible issues that is going on with the car. So yeah, that's kind of to look into. But for now, we'll put everything back together and keep testing everything. But so far, everything is working, so that might have fixed the problem. To put everything back, I haven't screwed anything back, so obviously it's just for the reverse process and go from there. Alright everyone, we're gonna go for a quick test drive just to make sure everything is working like it should. So just to make sure it doesn't shut down on me. Just get back out of here. Yes, that's the airbag, so I'm not gonna put that on. Although you're supposed to. But we'll just take it for a quick test drive. Working great now. Yeah, so far it looks like everything is working, so I'll end the video here and take it back home and call the customer.